So, congratulations, you've survived. So, welcome to the last session of this year's London Possible Conference, and it gives me great pleasure to hand over to Debjani to talk about seamless data enablement.
Thank you, David. And thank you, let me count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 people, attendance. But no, really, this is the last session of the day. This is the last session of Possible. And I dare say I learned a lot. And I'm sure you echo the same sentiment. I'm going to talk about seamless data enablement in whatever that means. I'll explain that. I have a little bit about myself. I'm Debjani. I'm based out of Dallas, Texas. Have been in Teradata for a little over a year now, but have been in this industry for 20 years. Yeah. First time in London, and I'm really, I would say, awed by the city. I did a little bit of sightseeing. I came in a little early. So if you are living in London or the suburbs, lucky you. Okay, I would need the clicker, so let's get started. And I'm going to throw numbers at you. So less than 30% of the organizations self-report to be data-driven. So let that number sink in. It really did not rise much. I did check last year, it was 26. It was hovering around 26. Last year's Possible, it has risen to 30. And this is self-reported data by the organizations. And there's a little difference. It talks about data-driven, which is like at the top of the pile, from a no data culture. And then this is a survey that we did, Teradata did. It's called the Newton survey. It's like about 40% only think that the data is not AI ready. So all these organizations, and what does AI ready mean is that it's not consumable by the models to actually give you insights. And we have been collecting data. Less than 50% of it is being used. Again, that number has inched up. It used to be like almost single to lower double digits. But still there is 50% of data which is sitting unused. And finally, with all this AI going on, there's still 85% of this data is unstructured. If you see, there is a little bit of correlation going on here. Since the data is unstructured, it's really not being used by AI. And why is the data unstructured? Because we are producing all of these log files, the text files, video images. There is a proliferation of all this data. If you do not combine it with the metadata or the other data, you really are not going to get a good AI insight. So that's and top it off with Gen AI, you are going to get a garbage in, garbage out output. So moving on, my agenda is going to be super simple. I'm going to present the data landscape, which is not going to be a surprise. You probably have that. And then how Teradata can help there. Actually, this agenda was a little more than 2 bullets. I did have the AI track here. So basically, the storyline was, this is your landscape, this is how you use our products, and this is how you feed into AI. So Meeta was going to present with me. That was her part. But unfortunately, she's not feeling well. So there's a little bit of cough and cold going around. So if you're heading somewhere in the evening, please beware of that. Okay, so data landscape. And I know there's less audience in the room, but I would still like to have a show of hands. In your organization, do you have a hybrid deployment model? Which means that do you have data spread over on-prem and cloud? Anybody has that? Oh, okay, perfect. And then when you have cloud, do you have multiple clouds like, say, AWS and Azure? Okay, so we have 2 representations. Now, you have hybrid, multi-cloud, And do you use multiple engines, which means that you not only have Teradata, you might also have a Snowflake and Databricks. Perfect. And final question before I jump in is, are you using AI and Gen AI in getting insights? Are you already using? Oh, some prompt. So it's starting, and I see a head nod, so you are there. So yes, this is what I am talking about. Again, this is not a surprise. Everybody has this. This is, I would say, almost intentional, because companies, big enterprises or small, we are acquiring other companies, and then we have all these data silos. There are more sources of truth coming in, so that's why we have this hodgepodge of data creating silos. What does that mean? That has real implications. One, obviously, how do you access that data? How do you even know where is your data? How do you get to it? Two, when you actually move this data around to make sense of it, it becomes expensive because you're paying egress costs. And finally, how do you know who should be having the rights to the data? Like, you are always having that anxiety that, will my data get into wrong hands? So the governance is a big aspect. So given this landscape, companies are really, and I talk to customers all the time, they're really losing out on the competitive edge, because then you're not really getting your data to do the insights and you're not data driven. I talked a little bit about this. This is a real model where you might have your risk models very close to on-prem, close to SLA workloads running on a Hive cluster. You can have your core banking on Azure, your HR data on GCP, and customers on AWS. So this is what is a hybrid multi-cloud architecture looks like. And this is a reality. Now, coming over, like, given this scenario, what are the products that can help you from Teradata? So before I go in, I did not really tell you about my portfolio. So I manage the data management portfolio in Teradata, which takes care of every product in the ingestion, transformation, and data sharing, governance. All of those products are in my team. So that's why you will see a good flavor of what we do. It all starts with the onboarding of the data. So data is somewhere there, like our IoT devices producing them data. How do you get it to your platform so that you can make sense of it? The vision there is to make it super fast and have the insights. Like, basically, you're not really getting to the data. You're trying to figure out what the data is telling you. So the vision is to accelerate the time to such insights. So we have two solutions there: simple data loading, and also supporting it with the ecosystem of tools. And how many are familiar with the product flow? Okay, so good. I can go a little deeper here. So this is a product which is no code, low code, and it can read from an object store. Why an object store? Because most of the data right now are in object store because it's cheap and easily accessible. So while those source systems dump data into the object store, you can set up a flow to collect that data and just load into Teradata Vantage platform. And you can do it with a single click. I mean, I'm exaggerating a little bit, but you click create the flow, tell it what is the cadence of your refresh. It could be, the least you can go is a minute. So it will keep refreshing your data every minute. You can make it an hour, 30 minutes, depends on what kind of refresh rate you want. And it's going to take the data from the object store and load it. And immediately the pipeline gets done, you can go to SQL editor or any editor of your choice, and you can look up the data. It's that simple. And this is available on AWS and Azure. Google Cloud is coming up. We're just getting done with that. It does. It's intelligent in the sense that it does take care of your schema drift, and if anything changes, it will morph. You don't really have to tell it the table. It will try to find it and match. If it has errors, it will tell you. So pretty much a very simplistic click, point, click, give the authorization of the object store, like say a S3 bucket, and then it's going to get your data and you can start working it. So super easy to work with for exploratory workloads if you want to just see what's going on and then get started. Obviously, sometimes you do not want to use native products, and you have heard a lot about we being open and connected. There's a lot of open things going on. So we meet the developers where they are, and the modern data stack is Airbyte, Airflow, MuleSoft, and dbt. All of these, we have native integrations, which means like in the drop-down, you can seamlessly see Teradata, and you can just go ahead and use these. What's coming up in this area is we are working with Fivetran, so that will be a new addition, and possibly Matillion. I don't have the roadmap for you, but that's the work that's going on for modern data stack. Okay, now we have the data in the system. How do I now make sense? Like, obviously the data is there, now you have to get to insights. How do you match that? Before we go there, I wanted to gloss over this because we just heard a lot about open table format, right? And we talked about multiple engine scenario. And we already have announced that Teradata provides, like you can consume data from open table format. So it provides read and write access to Iceberg and Delta Lake. Now going to the, I would say, the crown jewel of all products. If you remember, I'm not sure if you attended Bob's session. He was talking about the Delta Lake, Open Lake, and how you get data. There was a little halo of a query fabric there. So this is what the fabric is. So if you double click there, this is the fabric. Query grid, if you remember all those data sources, it connects seamlessly, which means that if you have the authorizations, again, that's super important. If you are authorized to access the data, if you set it up, it's as simple as you don't even need to know what is where. You just write a one single SQL statement and it will do the joins for you. Let me repeat that. You just have to, you start your query from wherever you want, and you should be able to join regardless of whether data is in AWS, Azure, on-prem, or any other system. Doesn't matter. It should work. And the beauty of this product is that it kind of does the orchestrations for you. It doesn't move the data. What that means is that there's no egress cost, so it's not expensive. And all the while it's optimizing, because we have an optimizer, so it uses the optimizer to make sure that the query is actually broken down into pieces. It goes where it needs to, and it can operate as a price performant manner, which means the lowest cost of query. What do we have in Query Grid? Pretty much, you can think of anything. We have native connectors on your left, the usual, Spark, Hive. However, we also have, if there is no native connector, not a problem. You have a regular JDBC connector, which every product offers, and you can connect to it. Okay, that really sounds complex, right? How do you really get Query Grid with all these, like how do you set up? So I'm happy to announce that with this coming release, we have made it super simple DIY, which means it's self-serve. You can go on the Vantage console, you can just click and give it what you want to connect with what. So you can connect an enterprise with the lake, which is Teradata to Teradata, or on-prem to enterprise lake, like any permutation of combination of Teradata to Teradata, which is included, it's not charged extra. in a landscape of on-prem or multi-cloud or even outside. So you just have the parameters, you give it the authorization, and you should be able to connect seamlessly. So it's as simple as that, and it's coming out for, again, it's AWS and Azure. GCP is almost there. By the end of the year, we should have it. So bringing it all together, how does this fabric look, right? So we started with all the risk models in on-prem and all your data spread over. And this is by choice because you do not want to get a vendor lock-in. You have this fabric, which is powered by Query Grid. And that is what kind of gets your data into the AI world so that you can actually train your data. The models can train on the data, and you can use that data to feed your models to get the insights. The good part is, after this, it was going to open up all the AI use cases, which obviously, as I said, Meeta is not here, so I cannot show you. However, the good part is, which means that we can have a good interactive question, so we have more time for questions. If not, then we have time back so that you can enjoy a little more of the expo. However, before we go there, there is a very good Query Grid webinar. Even if you don't get the QR code, that's fine. I can help you with that. But that actually shows you how to provision Query Grid, again, a DIY. It takes that data and runs it on ClearScape. So it's a very good synergy, ClearScape Analytics and Query Grid working together, getting a nice purview of the data estate and getting insights. And again, all of this is just point and click, and it does it. I also have the ClearScape Analytics. If you haven't used it, it's DIY. Again, it gives you free access, and you can go ahead and take a look at that as well. So that's all I have for you. And yes, we can get started with questions. It's half a session.
Hi, if you can just go back to the previous slide where we had the query grid connecting to different, So just before this one, maybe one step before. So you mentioned, or the slide mentioned that it reduces data movement and minimizes egress charges. So can you please explain, like, if I have one part of my organization using Redshift, the other part using, let's say, Snowflake, and I'm in the middle using Teradata. So how can I bring the data sharing concept, like by joining the data? But when we say we are not moving the data, like what does it exactly mean? So because to join the table, I have to bring the data somewhere, like in a spool or somewhere. So is it entirely true, or how does it work in the background?
Sure, I can say that. Am I still audible? If I was warned not to get off stage, but I think it's fine now. Yeah, so the way it works is our system kind of chops up your query, figures out, because you have, okay, let me go back because there's a feedback. It chops up because there is this concept of splitting the queries into where, because you use the foreign table dot column name. So it will take that, it's called a push down predicate. So it will push that query to where that data resides, get the answer from different places. So it does that for everything using, again, the AMPs. So there are different, it's massively parallel. And then everything comes together in the binet, and it gets all mixed together and then served to you. So it's true, it really does that. It doesn't really get the data from a system and then bring everything in one place and then run the SQL. It's actually chopping it. However, there are some places where the optimizer will make an intelligent decision that in this case, I'm not going to push down. It's easier and it is more price performant to get some data into some other place to make the join. So that is automatic and intelligently done by the optimizer.
And I'll just add that there's something called incremental planning and execution in Teradata in the optimizer. So depending on the results of one step, it might change the query plan for the next step.
And yes, I also wanted to add, like, I was in a customer advisory board on Monday, and they were like, hey guys, with the optimizer, you have made everybody so lazy. You can just throw any kind of query at it, like it might be like poorly formatted, whatever. It just churns it out so well that people are writing really bad SQL. So that is one downside of having such a great optimizer.
Any other questions?
Okay.
Now, in that case, thank you for staying with us to the end. Have safe journeys home. Thank you.
Thank you. And use the rest of your time. Thank you so much.